What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. Today we'll be discussing Jake Knapp's win at the Mexico Open, outdueling, Sami Valimaki on the back nine. The 29-year-old entered Sunday with a 4-shot lead, but it got hairy for him early on Sunday. We'll also be discussing Anthony Kim's comeback at Jeddah this week for Live Golf. We'll also break down Taylor Gooch's interesting comments that he made here this afternoon, some thoughts on the Charlie Woods drama surrounding his pre-qualifier for the Cognizant Classic, and of course this week's Cognizant Classic at PGA National. Got a lot of good stuff to be getting into. Everyone out there who's tuning in, first off, thank you for all your support. Make sure to go and jump into the YouTube feed of this so you can interact with all of us throughout the episode. Let us know your thoughts on Jake Knapp's win, Anthony Kim coming back, maybe some players you're targeting for this week's Cognizant Classic. Make sure to go and do that. We greatly appreciate you all interacting with us. As always, I'm Jack Bushman, joined by Ross Baran. Ross, we got a lot to get into here today, brother, but before we do, how are you doing this afternoon?
Busy week for us, man. Stayed busy at the clinic today, but was excited to jump back on, get back in our normal routine after yesterday's episode with Mark. Get in our normal routine, talk some more golf, and talk nap time.
Yeah, I am very, very, very sad that I did not end up betting on Jake Knapp. And for anyone who's watching this or listening to this right now, if you tuned into last week's show, Jake Knapp was actually someone that Ross shouted out when we were scouting the players in the field. And I was asking him which guys he felt like had a good chance this week. Jake Knapp was someone who he brought up. And when he did that, my eyes got super wide because he actually was someone I was really targeting going into the week. But I didn't end up betting him for whatever reason. Just throughout the course of the next couple of days, I was running my models, taking in a bunch of information, and that sadly led me elsewhere and led me to not having any money in my betting accounts come Sunday afternoon. I was very upset. And to make matters worse, Ross, before we even did the show last week, it was actually before the Genesis had wrapped up. I texted my buddies who I bet on golf with every week in our group chat. I texted them before the Genesis had even wrapped up. I'm really interested in Jake Knapp next week. And again, for whatever reason, didn't end up pulling the trigger on him. But yeah, what an incredible performance out of Jake Knapp. But it did get a little bit sketchy for him down the stretch on Sunday. He was absolutely lights out, Ross, from tee to green Friday and Saturday, and was making his putts. I even saw some people posting on social media saying, for those who have been wondering what it looks like for Scotty Scheffler to actually make putts, take a look at what Jake Knapp is doing right now at Vedanta Vallarta. He was incredible in the second and third rounds, but didn't have his A game on Sunday. He bogeyed 2 of the first 3 holes to cut that 4-shot lead that he started the day with down to 1 shot in a hurry. Sami Valimaki was on his heels, but never could really get it going when he had an opportunity to. It also felt like, me personally, Jake Knapp got all of the breaks while Sami Valimaki didn't get any. But regardless how the job got done, Jake Knapp, the 29-year-old rookie, pulls through for his first PGA Tour victory. Ross, what were your thoughts on Jake Knapp, nap time throughout the course of the event, and how he came through on Sunday despite not having his best stuff?
So I think one of the most interesting things about did you see the final stat for him winning on Sunday? How many fairways he hit?
2.
In 2. He hit 2 fairways in the final round to wrap this up and get his first PGA win. But the funny thing is, he did an interview on Smiley Kaufman's show a couple of weeks back, and one of Smiley's questions he asked him is, with your game, everything, are you gonna go play in Mexico? And he said, yeah, that he had it circled. He looked at the previous winners and he thought his game matched up. And Smiley basically told him, just go down there and fucking rip it, because you don't have to hit a fairway. You just have to bomb it. And the difference is going to be when other guys are hitting a 5 and 6 iron in, you're going to be hitting an 8 and 9.
Yeah, and that's kind of the method that we've seen at Vedanta in terms of the winners the last couple of years. Yeah, previous to this, it was John Rahm and Tony Finau, the 2 best players in the field. But what do? They absolutely bomb it off of the tee in with these 40-yard wide fairways plus very benign fairway rough. Distance really is everything on this course. And Jake Knapp certainly has a lot of distance. The ball speed is remarkable. And it feels like that's, even though he's 29 years old, that's kind of like the new standard for guys emerging on the PGA Tour. You just see a lot of them hitting the ball further than it's ever been hit. And yeah, Jake Knapp, I believe he led the field in driving distance this week, averaging over 320 yards per drive, which is just incredible. But yeah, didn't need to hit fairways down the stretch. He had the double miss going on. He was missing left, he was missing right. But what was really sharp for him and what actually ended up winning him this tournament, Ross, was his short game. The up and downs that he made while Sami Valimaki wasn't able to take advantage and make some birdies in those closing holes. Jake Knapp really just needed to not lose any strokes. And, you know, he kept missing greens and leaving himself little delicate pitches that, you know, really aren't all that tough for the standard PGA Tour player. But given the circumstances and everything involved in winning a golf tournament, made it certainly a little bit more difficult. But every time, man, he was nails with the short game and with the putter. That's really what won him this event.
Yeah, I mean, it became clear. I I think one I don't know if you noticed, but when they were coming down the back nine, there were times where you could see Sami looking at Jake and trying to figure out essentially what Jake had lined up for his putt, and you could see Sami like the wheels turning in his head on. I think I have to do something a little more drastic here because Jake has that.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be Sami Valimaki's day, the way that Jake Knapp was hitting the ball from tee to green, but it felt like he was almost missing that killer instinct a little bit. And to be fair, he is also a PGA Tour rookie who doesn't have a boatload of experience. I'm sure the emotions were running high for him in those moments as well, but there was even that, I want to say it was on 16 where Jake Knapp had missed the green. Sami Valimaki was on, and he could have elected to go first and put the pressure on Jake Knapp a little bit for his chip, but instead he just let Jake Knapp go first, and Knapp put it to like 4 feet, basically ensuring that he was going to make par. And it felt like there was no like Sami, if he was, look, this is not a fair comparison, but the Tiger Woods mindset that it feels like you need to win golf courses, it felt like that kind of eluded him. Like he wasn't the alpha. He wasn't the aggressor down the stretch. And I really think that's what cost him, because it was there for the taking the way that Knapp was playing, but Valimaki just couldn't come through in the clutch.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you brought that up because that was one of the examples where, you know, big time moments come from big time plays and a big time mentality. And in that moment, you had the complete reverse, where you were expecting Sami Valimaki is away on that hole, even though Jake Knapp is off the green. Sami Valimaki is away and naturally has the right to go first. And Jake Knapp just walked up there like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go."
Yeah,
And then
you're right.
and Sami Valimaki just kind of sat there like, "Oh, okay, I guess." And then of course he hits the chip to like a foot. And then you see all the life drained from Sami Valimaki that I probably should have went first and put the pressure on him. And now he's gonna walk up, he's gonna tap this in, he's gonna essentially birdie this hole, and I'm struggling here for maybe a par.
Yeah, and it was a long birdie opportunity for Valimaki that, you know, didn't really have much of an opportunity to go in. But if he puts that to 2 or 3 feet, all of a sudden you're making Jake Knapp think a little bit more. And even the NBC Sports broadcasters, and I forget exactly who it was that was down on the course following that final pairing for the Sunday round, but they even said there was no conversation between Valimaki and Jake Knapp there. Jake Knapp just kind of took charge. He was going first, and look, that again, I don't know if Jake Knapp necessarily had the alpha mentality down the stretch with the way his game was, but in what felt like it could have been a crucial moment, Jake Knapp was the one who kind of instigated the dance, if you will. And I don't think that's surprising considering how the tournament finished out.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like one of those momentum swings where Sami really did have the opportunity there. And Jake Knapp just kind of stepped up to the ball and hit it and slammed the door shut. Like any chance you had is gone now.
And what also really surprised me about the ending of this tournament, Ross, was that no one else pressed Jake Knapp and Sami Valimaki. And I understand, again, that Knapp had a 4-shot lead over Valimaki and then a 7-shot lead over anybody else. But Knapp was 19 under going into the final round, and he won this tournament at 19 under. And Mexico is Vedanta is a gettable course. I know the Sunday pin locations are always the hardest, but Chan Kim ended up shooting even. He was one of those guys at 12 under to start the day. Eric Van Rooyen was at 11 under. He only shot 1 under in the final round. Henrik Norlander was kind of there. Like, no one really made that late charge to put extra pressure on both of those guys. And that kind of surprised me a little bit. I expected that Sunday was going to be a 2-horse race between Knapp and Valimaki in that final pairing, because I assumed, like you said before we recorded, based on how they had played up to that point, I figured one of them was at least going to shoot -2 or -3, take advantage of the par 5s and get out of Dodge with the victory. But considering that all Jake Knapp had to do was shoot even to end up winning this tournament, that kind of caught me a little bit by surprise, Ross.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is one of those tournaments that it was kind of apparent. Sami went really low on Saturday. Jake Knapp went low on Saturday. They kind of separated themselves from the field, and the overall vibe I was getting was, this is going to be a 2-horse race going into Sunday. I don't just everyone kind of stayed put on Saturday. No one really made a huge jump aside from the two of them, where it really did feel like this was going to be one of the first tournaments of the year where you could circle the final pairing. Like the winner is coming from there. Wasn't going to be surprised to see someone come up and make some noise, but it was going to be the final group falling back down to earth for someone to catch them. But we knew the winner was coming from the final pair. What was more perplexing overall was just, like you said, the fact that Jake Knapp shot even. They didn't go low. They're not both up, 24 under, whatever, making a run for it. Like, they just kind of stayed put. And where ideally you thought, if you had known that going into Sunday, you would expect someone to make noise and come up and try, but just no one took advantage of it. No one was able to play that course the way and take advantage of the length and the fact that it's basically a wide open field. Just knock it the hell down there. Even if it's not in the fairway, you're going to have a great look up to the hole, and just no one was able to take advantage of it. Everyone just kind of stayed put, and even the leaders stayed put.
And I would probably attribute that to the strength of the field that was had this week, considering probably one of the weakest that we'll see on the PGA Tour schedule this year. Those guys that were in contention, not exactly top of the line PGA Tour players. So not guys that you could maybe pencil in to make a late Sunday charge. But yeah, surprised that one of them didn't go low in the slightest. But yeah, Jake Knapp, man, an impressive victory. I know a lot of people are super excited for his future now. I am curious, has your opinion of Jake Knapp changed at all after this week? Because on gambling social media, on gambling X, I was about to call it gambling Twitter. Gambling Twitter sounds so much better, by the way. I saw some people posting like, oh, I'm going to go bet Jake Knapp to go and win the PGA championship now, or stuff like that. And yeah, it's incredible that he led the field from in terms of strokes gained approach and strokes gained off of the tee. Do you feel any differently about Jake Knapp now that he's actually won an event at all, Ross?
I'm more confident in him because you and I have kind of noticed, the first several events, he's a rookie. Literally just got his card off Korn Ferry. We have a limited sample size, but you and I have chatted about him in the past that his game is impressive. His swing is beautiful. That thing, if you are trying to fix your golf swing and find a standard, watch Jake Knapp's swing. It is just absolutely immaculate. I think there's more confidence now because he checked off that box. I got there. I won an event on tour. I'm a PGA winner. I don't know if that's immediately going to translate going into these next huge tournaments. I think we're going to see some consistency. I think he's going to make noise, be in, that middle middle upper tier of the board, somewhere in that 7 to 15 range. I'm not going to be surprised to see him consistently sit there. And maybe later, as we make the swing into the late spring, the early summer, when we have some of those mid-tier events again, I wouldn't be surprised to see him come up and nab like one of those and maybe lock a win or two down at some of those lower tier events. In terms of the big tier events, maybe a top 10 at one of the majors, make some noise. I don't think it's all going to come full circle in this season. I do really like the game and the ability that he has. I just don't know if it's all there yet. But I do think this is going to be a huge confidence boost in the game, and he essentially knows he can compete.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about it. I don't know if he's ready to contend for a major championship or anything anything along those lines, but that winds up being the case, we'll certainly be here for it. We're big Jake Knapp fans. And what I also love to see out of Jake Knapp, I loved him before. I was already on the bandwagon. I love the flow that he's got going on. I love the vibes that he brings and the mentality that he has. I also love to see him celebrating after the win, shotgunning some brujas with the fine folks in attendance at Vedanta Vallarta following his victory. I thought that was pretty hilarious. And just showing the friendly and fun side of Jake Knapp.
Well, I mean, I love the hockey jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are definitely hockey guys on the side too. I love the fact that he's sponsored by the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks are one of his sponsors. It's one of those weird, crazy things. Just like when you look at Cameron Young, every weekend you go out and there's a huge Major League Baseball patch on a golf shirt. It's just another one of those funny, crazy things that I just love, that there's another pro team that's just invested in this guy because they dig the vibes just as much as we do. So I am a huge nap time fan. I think it's going to be exciting moving into the summer to continue to watch him grow. And he's another one of the guys that, kind of fits that Wyndham Clark mold from last year, where you get an event really early and we'll see where it springs into the summer. And when we move, maybe competitive enough that if he keeps playing the way he's playing, maybe he's one of those people at the end of the year that's in contention for a potential, President's Cup pick.
I actually think that's a rather interesting comparison you make about Wyndham Clark, because funny enough, I bet Wyndham Clark last year at the Mexico Open. I figured he would be a great course fit. I might have even used him as my one and done last year that I do with Joey Ricotta. But yeah, ended up not winning that event, but won a couple of weeks later, of course, at the Wells Fargo Championship. So yeah, who knows what could happen with Jake Knapp. And you mentioned the Anaheim Ducks sponsorship. That's a little bit of a double whammy for me, because for anyone who knows me, I'm a really big hockey guy, and loved that Jake Knapp was sponsored by the Ducks. I was actually talking with my buddy about it a couple of weeks ago during the Waste Management Phoenix Open when they were showing some Jake Knapp highlights. I was like, that guy's sponsored by the Anaheim Ducks. And to make it even worse, Ross, Sami Valimaki's got a hockey connection as well, as I believe it's his cousin plays for the Arizona Coyotes, Juuso Valimaki. And I'm like, dude, we got two hockey guys in contention. I'm a big hockey guy myself, and I don't have money on either of them. When I mentioned both of them on the show last week, I'm not going to lie to you, Ross, it was a bit painful to watch that on Sunday, knowing I had interest in both of them, but ended up with money on neither. It really stunk.
Hey, we are a team here, so we can chalk it up that Golf on Tap officially has one outright on the season. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. We need him where we can get him right now, because your boy is cold as ice. The only other outright we have this year was from Joey. He hit an outright on Wyndham Clark at Pebble Beach, and that event didn't even go into Sunday. So who knows if Wyndham Clark would have actually... Yeah, who would have actually known if he closed that thing out? But hopefully I'll be able to get back on track this week for the Cognizant Classic. We'll get there in just a moment, folks. But what I wanted to talk for a moment about next, Ross, is the Anthony Kim comeback. It's real. It's actually happening. We've heard whispers of this over the last couple of weeks, that he could possibly be the mystery man into the tournament at Jeddah this week. We saw a promotional video that Liv put out yesterday. And yeah, Anthony Kim making his comeback this week after a long hiatus. A guy who was a fan favorite at a young age when he burst onto the PGA Tour, beat Sergio Garcia at the Ryder Cup. Someone that a lot of people were thinking was going to have a very bright career ahead of him and then just kind of fell off the face of the earth for like a decade there. But now he's officially back playing for Liv Golf. There's that conflict in terms of his the clause that's in his contract. If he were ever come back to the PGA Tour, Liv Golf makes a lot of sense for him. Your thoughts on Anthony Kim coming back this week, Ross?
I love Anthony Kim being back in the game because it's literally been 12 years. The only thing is, I'm just not interested in how it's kind of being set up. They're playing at Jeddah. They're playing in another time zone. This is going to be through the middle of the night. It's not really going to be broadcast. Most of our comeback, everything that you and I specifically are going to follow, because obviously we're going to follow it. We're going to get it through like X and Facebook and news like that, oh, Anthony Kim makes his return and shot one over in the first round of the Live event, whatever. The setup is just making it really hard for me to be excited about it. We're like, I get it that they want to do it sooner than later and give him a trial. I just think the event that they picked doesn't line up for if you want that exposure and you want that injection into your tour, and I get it's waiting another month, but in a month they're in fucking Miami, man. Like, why the market you're attempting to get is the United States, right? Like that is where the Anthony Kim market is. Why not wait till that event where, it's in South Beach, it's on the courses there. Everyone will tune into that event because it's the return of AK. We're going to do it in Jeddah. A lot of people are going to, the diehard lit golfers guys are going to watch on YouTube and watch on the CW at 4:00 in the morning to, watch Anthony Kim probably post like somewhere, I'm guessing, between 69 and 74.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited for Anthony Kim making his return, but it's not going to make me turn on the television at, like you said, 4 a.m. or go on YouTube or wherever Live is going to be streamed at that point in time. Yeah, it's just not going to make me, change my schedule about it. I'll go and, find out how he's doing the following morning, seeing stuff on social media and the post and all that. But yeah, I did think it was rather weird timing as well. I'm pretty surprised they didn't do it in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, because could you imagine if Anthony Kim made his return in Las Vegas ahead of Super Bowl Sunday? That could have potentially stolen a little bit of thunder out of the Waste Management Phoenix Open for sure, especially with the weather stuff that was going on there. Like, that could have been a huge opportunity for Liv.
Oh, absolutely. And this is, I love Anthony Kim. I'm excited that Anthony Kim is making a return to the game. We're going to get to see him play. I just feel like the ball has kind of been dropped in this return. I think there was better events. I mean, like I said, if you wait 4 weeks, they're in Miami, man.
Makes so much more sense.
It just makes so much more sense, especially for, we know what target market you're going for. You're trying to get the U.S. market because Live is big overseas. I'm not going to discount that. Overseas they have a following that people pick up on that and pay attention. They're trying to draw more into the U.S. market, and especially a former Ryder Cup hero for the U.S. team. It just seemed like that was such a better fit to make your announcement and build up to. Not like we said, I'm not gonna turn on Jeddah at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to watch Anthony Kim post it, go anywhere from, I don't know. Maybe we'll see a nice 3 under, maybe we'll see a couple over, whatever it is. He works out the kinks, but that's not enough for me to wake up in the middle of the night. Sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all. If we get Anthony Kim in contention or something, maybe that'll move the needle a little bit. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Anthony Kim and his return this week at Jeddah. That gets underway on Thursday. Speaking of live golf, Ross, Taylor Gooch was in the golf headlines today for making some kind of interesting comments and then continuing to double down on his antics when it really felt like he should have just kept his yapper shut. You kind of want to take over and discuss the saga that was going on with Taylor Gooch today. I know you were fully intertwined into that.
So I watched this from first thing this morning to when it broke, and I just progressively watched Taylor Gooch dig himself deeper and deeper in a hole and just not back down and chirping at everyone trying to come back because I mean, I get it. You want to be outspoken because you're not in the Masters. But the comment of if Rory wins the Masters this year and completes the career Grand Slam, that there has to be an asterisk on this because the best players are not all in the field.
Yeah.
Only to have the internet sleuths go and basically prove him wrong in a matter of minutes for the fact that there are 12 active live golf players currently participating in the Masters, which is actually almost a quarter of live golf's members are in the event. The only member not in the event that is in the world top 50 is Taylor Gooch. So this is Taylor Gooch basically saying if Rory wins the Masters and completes the career Grand Slam, it's not because live golfers weren't present. It's because I wasn't there and I didn't get a chance.
Yeah, it sounds like these 3 wins last year that Taylor Gooch had on live golf is kind of getting to his head here. I think Buddy forgets his only career PGA Tour victory occurred at the RSM Classic during the fall swing when if you're actually one of the best players in the world, you're not playing during then. So, yeah, I don't really know what Taylor Gooch's strategy was. I'm pretty sure his PR team wasn't very happy with those antics because it only ended up making himself look foolish, and by debunking everything that he said, which the internet always does, he basically made it seem like he said, if Rory McIlroy doesn't win the Grand Slam because I'm not there, it's not going to count. It's like, Taylor Gooch, buddy, who do you think you are? And he only has himself to blame for not being in the Masters. He didn't make any of the attempts, and we have this conversation time and time again. Going to live golf, getting your bag, I understand it, but if you're not going to play in DP or Asian Tour events or find other opportunities to get the qualifying points to get yourselves into those tournaments, I'm just not going to feel bad for you. And Taylor Gooch, I don't really know what he expected to get out of this conversation. Did he actually think people were going to side up with him and be like, yeah, that guy actually does have a point. If Rory wins the Masters this year, I don't know if I'm going to take it seriously. Like, what are we talking about?
No, it's absolutely asinine, and it just got worse and worse for him. And like you said, the only person he can blame is himself because the Masters is its own entity. They make their own invites, and one thing that they made very apparent with is that they didn't want to fully discriminate with live golf. They encouraged players. I know you can't get points in OWGR because of live, but if you go and play alternate events, aka go play the Asian Tour, the DP World Tour when you can, as long as you perform there, that is going to be on our radar, and you can get an extension and an invite to our tournament. There are multiple players on the Live Tour that have not even won a Live Tour event that are in the Masters because they went and they played the Asian Tour. They played the DP World Tour. They played several events. They finished in the top 10 and they won a couple of them. Taylor Gooch attempted to play one event outside the Live Tour last season. He finished tied for 46th. I'm sorry, Taylor. You fucking did it to yourself. Case closed. End of story. Better luck next year.
Boom. That's the judge hitting the table with the gavel, as I think we all probably feel the same way that this wasn't the wisest decision by Taylor Gooch. Live golf this weekend. If you enjoy waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, hats off to you. Hope it's a good tournament. Hope it goes well for everybody. Moving on from live golf, though, I feel next we only have to talk about this for a brief moment, Ross, but we've kind of discussed this behind the camera in the last couple of days. The Charlie Woods stuff with him attempting to pre-qualify for the 2024 Cognizant Classic. It felt like it really got blown out of proportion. I even had people, especially the coverage on Charlie, the PGA Tour sending camera crews out there to go and film him walking into the tournament. Felt like a little bit much there. And when he ended up shooting that 12 over par round, I even had non-golf fans like sliding into my DMs and like posting or like sending that to me and being like, this isn't very good, is it? And that's the sad reaction that people are getting from this, because they don't realize it's a 15-year-old playing a professional setup against other professionals. But the way the PGA Tour pumps it out to everybody, feels like everyone's expecting Charlie Woods to already be capable of going and competing on the PGA Tour. It's a reminder that it is a sad world that we live in sometimes. At least that's the way I felt based on how they were treating Charlie in this event and the reactions following that round.
Yeah, honestly, I was excited because it's the Cub. And you love Charlie Woods. He's so entertaining when he's with his dad, and he's in all the AMs, everything, and just like the celebrity tournaments. This was just supposed to be for fun. Let him have a crack at it. He's just trying. We're just gonna make an attempt. We're gonna see. And this turned into such a fucking circus that by early morning prior to the round, I was already scared for him. Like, this is being blown up so out of proportion. He's just trying to play golf and do his own thing. And then, it got worse. And when you read through the reports that people are going over the ropes, they're going out onto the course because they want to be close to Charlie, disregarding security, everything. He hits a ball off into the rough and into the bushes. People are diving in the bushes trying to find the ball to pocket it because they want a souvenir. It's got people screaming at him because he won't sign his dad's book in the middle of the round when he's on a tee box. And it just turned into such a circus show where, if I'm Tiger, and like this might just be the dad in me, if I'm Tiger, I'm with being the ambassador for the PGA Tour. I'd be contacting the PGA Tour and say, never fucking do that again.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And look, Charlie's life is always going to be difficult because who his dad is. That part, feel all the ways you want to about it. That sadly is just going to be a reality for the rest of his life. People are going to be looking at him like he's the next big thing, or just always wanting to get a piece of him or get close to him or just have those interactions and whatnot. But there is a line that it feels like, as human beings, that moral line that still has to be respected. And it felt like this went above and beyond that. And I think you're absolutely right. Tiger Woods, with the outreach and the respect that he commands and, his legendary status, it feels like at some point in time, especially as Charlie continues to go through the ranks and hits that next level, goes and plays college golf or whatever his next step may be, it feels like it's only going to get ramped up the closer and closer he gets to potentially being a pro. If that winds up being the case, we certainly don't know. I'd love that to happen, but golf's a crazy game. It feels like it's only going to be tougher and tougher for him. And I do wonder if at some point in time, how Tiger's going to go about this, how just even golf courses are going to handle this, because it feels like it's going to be insanity whenever Charlie Woods is playing big time golf. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely think that you hit nail on the head that this is Charlie. Charlie is the son of quite literally the GOAT. Charlie's trying to find his own way. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is Charlie is so young, but expectations are so high that no one actually realizes there's a very, very probable and real chance that Charlie never even makes the PGA Tour.
Right. And people don't even consider that.
The game is so hard to be successful and make it this far. There is a very realistic chance that Charlie Woods never plays on the PGA Tour at all. And I think it's just everyone needs to tone it the hell down, bring it back. He's 15. this is a game he loves and he likes to play. But if this continues to happen when he goes to do these things that he likes and he makes strides in his own game and makes his own attempts, if he gets pushed to the edge and these things happen, there's a very good chance you're going to ruin it for him before he even gets close and he just says, I'm done.
Yeah, and I think that's a realization that people need to have is the kid can't even drive yet. He's 15 years old and the expectations are so outrageous, and people fall out of love with golf for a lot of different reasons, and they have the game, even like what Mark was telling us yesterday, the guy who he witnessed shoot the best round that he's ever seen at Whistling Straits. Quick plug. He said, that guy was a Division I golfer, one of the better players on his team. He just didn't have it mentally. He didn't love the travel. He didn't love the grind. And there are lots of different things that come with professional golf that maybe people don't realize, and kind of leads to people struggling throughout that process as they're trying to take that next step. Who knows what all of this pressure and everything is going to do for Charlie Woods and his psyche, because like it's just some tough shoes to walk in, having your dad be Tiger, you're also playing golf. People are just going to assume you're maybe not going to be as good, but at least going to be a stud. And who knows if that's even going to be the case with Charlie. We don't know, because again, he's only 15 years old, and that doesn't really tell you anything. And we've seen some of the best collegiate golfers struggle on the PGA Tour. Justin Suh is someone who was in that conversation with Victor Hovland and Colin Morikawa coming out. He's struggled thus far. Patrick Rogers was a stud at Stanford. He's still looking for his PGA Tour win. Golf is not a linear path. It's not a linear path, and just because you're good now doesn't mean anything.
You literally gave the perfect example that I was hoping you were going to hit. Patrick Rogers. Patrick Rogers in college came up with that group of Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, the supposed to be the next level of PGA Tour superstar. Two of them came out, and we can look, 12 years later, unbelievable careers. Golf Hall of Famers based on what they've done. Patrick Rogers still looking for his first win.
Yeah. It's a crazy game, man. That's how it be sometimes. Just because you're good now does not guarantee you anything, not even years in the future, a couple weeks in the future, man. The turnarounds and the spirals that happen in this game, it's part of it.
But but I guess you can also have to put the vice versa, that good things can happen late, aka Jake Knapp being 29. I've seen people go 29. You really think he can be a PGA superstar? I would just like to point out, Vijay Singh didn't win his first PGA event until after the age of 30.
It's certainly possible. I'm not going to go and call Jake Knapp a potential superstar just yet, but I will say his game is rather impressive. He's got the goods. Not only did he win Mexico, but he also contended earlier on in the season at Torrey Pines and played well at some of the big boy events. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens for him. Going to be interesting to see what happens these next couple of years with Charlie Woods, certainly as he begins to creep into those upper teenage years. I'm sure the pressure is going to be a lot on him, and how he handles it is going to be rather interesting. But speaking of the Woods family, Ross, just for a quick second here before we get into the Cognizant Classic, we thought maybe this could have been a spot for Tiger Woods, or maybe he's just going to wait until the Players. It's not even confirmed that he's going to be there yet. When do you expect to see Big Cat back on the course?
I think we're going to see the Players. I just have a feeling it's too widely spread and talked about. There are too many golf personalities out there that constantly mention this, that I feel like it's almost a setback for him if he doesn't go at this point.
And I think that would be an indicator as well that the flu wasn't what actually forced him to withdraw from the Genesis Invitational. If he is able to play at the Players, I think that's a pretty good sign that his body's feeling good. He's physically able to withstand, and shoot, we don't even know if he's able to withstand 72 holes because we didn't get to see it at Riviera, but definitely would be a positive sign. And I think if he wants to go play the Masters, he absolutely has to play at the Players, or at least one time before the first major of the year, because I don't know how he could expect anything good to happen. Yeah, Tiger always makes the cut at Augusta. That happens, but we know Tiger's mind. He's not just trying to make the cut at Augusta, even if it does seem wild. He still has that belief in himself, and that's what makes him uh, the great of all greats. But it does feel like the Players, if it's not going to be at API, which doesn't seem like a good fit for him, it's not this week, as we know. It feels like it has to be the Players before the Masters.
Yeah, and just the way it's setting up, and the way the way he set up how he wants to do his year. I get it. I want to ease myself back, uh, which is already one thing for him to admit. Like, I'm not going to just fully jump back in because I'm going to hurt myself. I know I'm going to hurt myself. It's going to be too much. I'm going to play several events over the course of the year, strategically pick them, and like he said, one a month. So realistically, we're looking 8. Maybe he'll squeeze a 9th event in there. We already lost Genesis because of illness. It just feels like overall this is going to be a huge setback for this comeback if he does not go play Sawgrass.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hopefully we'll be seeing Tiger at TPC Sawgrass here in just a couple of weeks. Hopefully I'll hit a big bet, and maybe I'll just go book a flight and buy some tickets to TPC Sawgrass if I hit an outright winner this week, Ross. And I desperately need it, brother, because seriously, since I've kind of been in this game, if you will, for the last 3 years or so, last year was really when I started going every week and had that belief in myself that I could come out on top. This is the coldest stretch that I've ever been in, man. I didn't hit anything during the FedEx Cup fall, which was really good for me the year prior. And I'm still without a win here in 2024. So hopefully we can get one this week at PGA National, the Cognizant Classic, formerly known as the Honda Classic. I really just want to call it the Honda Classic. But before we get into the field and the rundown on PGA National and some players we may like this week, Ross, I think just Honda not being the title sponsor of this event any longer after being the longest running sponsor on the PGA Tour for 42 years. Honda's not even with the PGA Tour anymore. As I wrote in my article breaking down this event, I think that's a pretty strong indication of how things are going for old Jay Monahan and company right now, Ross.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but it gets even funnier than that. Did you see, if you Google Cognizant Classic, the only thing that pops up all over is it's still the Honda Classic logo. That
Yeah.
we all know what this is. We're not going to call it that other name, even though they're not paying for it anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I almost got to like force it out of my mouth calling it the Cognizant, because Honda, obviously an iconic business partner with the PGA Tour, but also, Ross, this is one of my favorite events, and I really do like the Florida Swing. I think they're all difficult golf courses. They require you to be good from tee to green. There's a lot of water, a lot of ways to make big numbers, and that type of carnage is what I like watching. I don't like watching these guys go and racking up 7 unders after 8 unders and the winning scores at minus 25. Yeah, that's awesome that the PGA Tour players can dominate courses like that, but I like to see a true test of golf. And you get that here at PGA National, man. One of the hardest non-major venues on the PGA Tour. It's been the most difficult non-major course in 6 of the past 10 years. The winning score has eclipsed 10 under in just 5 of the past 13. There's water everywhere. It comes into play on 15 holes. You got tight fairways, penal, fairway, and greenside bunkers. Of course, there's the iconic bear trap, holes 15 through 17, one of the most grueling 3-hole stretches on the PGA Tour. And numbers 6, 7 through 8 is also another brutal stretch for these players. So, Ross, these are the types of golf tournaments that I really like watching, even though it is a little bit of a lackluster field this week, which isn't surprising because we have 2 designated events coming up in the API and the players. But I personally love this event. I'm really excited for it, and I just enjoy the Florida Swing in general. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, when they set the season up to go off to the West Coast and bounce around, by the time when they make this swing, you've been, especially for golf fans like us that you have to adjust your schedules to they're on the West Coast. It's all happening ending later. When they make this swing over here and it falls right into your prime time slot, oh baby, let's go.
To me, listen, the Genesis is awesome. Waste Management Phoenix Open, awesome. Torrey Pines, awesome. Now that football's over, this feels like when golf season really starts to me. And it feels like this is when, yeah, everyone's trying to go and win those events early on in the year. I'm not saying that, but it feels like this is really when guys are starting to try and find that peak form leading into Augusta National, which is also starting to creep up to us, Ross.
We can't mention too much about that because I'll get too excited and we'll go on a rant for another 30 minutes or so because that's the one. My calendar for work is blocked off. I will not be in the office those 2 days. I will not even be working from home those 2 days. I took those days off. You will not reach me. You will find me. I will be back the Monday after, but Thursday through Sunday I have dedicated to my couch and Augusta, and that is it.
You are the man for that. Masters week is one of my favorite, if not the favorite week of the entire year. And it's funny, it takes me back to my college days, Ross. We had this thing in my fraternity back at college where whenever the Masters was on, we were drinking, oh my gosh, the drink is eluding me right now. Holy cow. Wow. This is rather sad. It's going to come to me, but there was a drink that we'd always make and watch it all together in the living room. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of this right now. That's how you know you're getting old. Been out of college for far too long, but it's just got that nostalgia. It's got that buzz. I won't get too far into it because I know it's still a few weeks away, but certainly looking forward to that. But yeah, this feels like the real start of the PGA Tour season and when guys are really trying to get their game in the right place. But this week, Ross, we got a couple of the top-end guys at PGA National. Rory McIlroy, of course, is the one that's going to grab the headlines, the former winner of this tournament. It feels like it's him, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Tom Kim, and then kind of just a group of past champions like Keith Mitchell, Ricky Fowler, Sepp Straka, Russell Henley is also here. It's still an intriguing type of field. And we were even talking yesterday, Ross, like you were looking at this middle range of like maybe guys who are 40 to 60 to 1. And I know you're not a big betting guy whatsoever, but there's a lot of intrigue in that range. And I'm just curious, at the top and out of those guys in that range, were there any in particular that stood out to you? And I got to ask, because you're riding the Jake Knapp heater, even though you didn't bet on him, a great shout out last week. Who are you liking this week as we kind of creep into the tournament?
So I've looked at this. I actually came up with a handful of names.
Okay.
And I have a handful of names I'm going to read off. And here's the thing. I'm throwing Rory. I'm throwing Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm throwing all those guys out. I don't think it's happening this week. I think we're going to ride that train of the new young wave coming in the tour. And another one of these guys is going to come up and get that win.
Okay. Who are you liking? Speak that truth.
First of all, came very close in the past. I think this is going to be finally potentially we get a breakthrough from Eric Cole.
I love it. And listen, I already bet Eric Cole, so I can't make the same mistake as last week and not bet him. I actually called on social media a couple of weeks ago. I've been feeling this for a long time. This is Eric Cole's event, not just because he came so close last year and lost out to Chris Kirk, but this just feels like a really good course for his game. I've always thought when he is going to win, it's going to be on one of the more difficult courses and not one of the birdie fest because his tee to green game is so good and he can putt. And also, he grew up just 10 miles away from PGA National. He's very comfortable on Florida golf courses, very comfortable on this course, so it seems. I really like that call out of Eric Cole this week. Ross, who else you liking, brother?
We drop a little further down the list. This is going to be one of my outliers where not a new player, but a big new win. Plays this course really well. You and I have talked about it off camera. I like Daniel Berger here with the bounce back after almost 2 years away from the game. I think this is a very good week for him to get up there and compete and have his name back at the top of the leaderboard where he's used to being. I think this could be one of those tournaments that rejuvenates this comeback.
Okay, that's one of my boys as well. The guy who actually got me into golf gambling, because the first golf bet I ever made, it was when golf came back from COVID. I placed a $25 wager on Daniel Berger at 40-1. He ends up winning the Charles Schwab Challenge. I take $1,000 and end up going to Las Vegas. And you mentioned it, plays really good at PGA National. Another Florida guy, ball striking numbers were good out on the West Coast. The chipping and putting kind of eluded him, but he's back on Bermuda. Those are the green surfaces that he's most comfortable on. I like that play as well, Ross.
After that, we're going to move a little further down the list. We're going to jump down to a 60-1. I don't know why. I've watched him play recently. For some reason, I'm getting vibes out of it. I like someone from the middle of the pack, like Doug Gim coming up.
Okay, the Buffalo Grove, Illinois native, not too far from my neck of the woods. And he actually played really well at the Players Championship last year, was in contention at the Waste Management Phoenix Open before kind of a ho-hum Sunday. I saw a lot of people really interested in Doug Gim last week at Mexico. Listen, he's kind of got the same odds that he did last week. I kind of like Doug Gim in this spot. I don't know if he's actually going to win, but I certainly could see him being in contention. I like that call as well. No lie. I like all these calls so far. Not just saying.
And
that.
then I have two last ones. One, bouncing back from an injury again, has been putting it together, getting in on a lot of exemptions, be off of his injury, but making the best out of what he's been given. I'm getting more and more impressed every tournament that Mav McNeely plays.
That's funny you say that. I bet him last week in Mexico really did, pardon my language, diddly shit until the final round when he finally was able to make some putts. I kind of feel like, and I actually, funny enough, mentioned this to my group chat today, I bet on Maverick McNeely. I bet on Austin Eckroat, two guys who didn't play all that good in Mexico until those final rounds. I kind of like their style again on this course. I don't know if I'm going to bet on either of them, but Maverick McNeely, man, I had seen enough at the Waste Management Phoenix Open to take a chance on him in Mexico. It didn't work out, but maybe could be riding that momentum from a 6-under Sunday, I want to say. So I do like that call as well. Maverick McNeely perked my ears going into this week. You got one more?
I got one more, and I mean, this one's not a surprise. He's taken the last several weeks off, enjoyed his time, refreshed his game. But once again, because we are fans, and he basically finishes in, it seems like, the top 10 to every event he plays to begin his PGA Tour career, along with a win. Let's bring back Mathieu Pavon.
Yeah, Mathieu Pavon getting a little disrespected in the odds. Or at least when he opened this week. You could still get him at 50-1 out there, 55-1 maybe, depending on where you're looking. Those are some pretty solid numbers for.
I'm looking right now. We have at 50-1.
Yeah, I'm looking as well. I do like that call, Mathieu Pavon. So big now he can skip out on Tiger's event. What a crazy world for Mathieu Pavon, but playing really, really good golf ever since last September has just carried over that fire that he found there onto the PGA Tour during his rookie season. It's crazy the amount of rookies that we're getting like playing some elite level golf right now, while a lot of the big guns just aren't at their best to kick off the new season. It has been rather intriguing. But as far as the guys that I'm interested in this week, Ross, I've only made 2 bets so far. I was 100% going to bet Eric Cole, whatever the number was at when he opened, because I knew people were going to get on him and that number was going to get smashed down. I bet him at 33-1. I also bet former champion here, Russell Henley, at 28-1, someone who plays really well on these shorter courses that have a lot of par 4s, really good total driving stats, hits the fairway a lot, but hits it far enough that I think will benefit him on these courses. Feels like it always comes down to the putter for Russell Henley, and throughout his career on this track, he's gained strokes in 5 of his 9 career starts and has a lot of high-end finishes in addition to that win. So those were the 2 guys that I bet, but a lot of intrigue, like you said, in that middle range. JT Poston is I just have a soft spot for JT Poston, and I've been feeling like the win's been coming a long, long time for that guy. So a 33-1 is kind of interesting to me. I'm not going to bet this number, but Matthew Fitzpatrick opened this tournament at 30-1 because he just simply has not been playing good golf recently. But make no mistake about it, outside of Rory McIlroy, Matthew Fitzpatrick is the best player in this field. And that seems like a really good number on him. I don't think I'm going to get there, but I did think that was a little intriguing. Shane Lowry is another guy who's played really well, not only on this course, but during the Florida swing. Ross, before I talk about more guys, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, Shane Lowry should have taken this thing down. Daniel Berger opened Sunday with a 6-shot lead. He ends up gagging that away. Shane Lowry has the lead down the stretch. Sepp Straka goes and ends up taking it from him and finishes out. And then Shane Lowry, while he's playing the last 2 holes on this course, the last being the par 5 18th, he still has a chance to go and make birdie to tie the lead and force a playoff. It just absolutely starts downpouring out there. I don't know if you remember that by chance, but poor Shane Lowry just got caught in the rain, and I felt like it ended up costing him a victory there. But I think his odds are good this week. Do you remember that though?
I do, and I don't know if you noticed. Your boy, if you're gonna sprinkle something, I'd sprinkle soon because he's dropping quick. JT Poston's now down to 30-1.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that that's the 30 that I've seen as well. DraftKings is offering a plus 300 boost, and if I probably want that 33-1 on JT Poston if I was going to bet him, but I appreciate the call out. Some other guys that have caught my attention. Like I said, I've only made 2 bets so far, but Luke List, 50-1. I don't know if he's going to be able to putt like he did for those first 3.5 rounds at Genesis. That's always the question with him, but we know the dude can absolutely strike the hell out of the ball. So he was interesting to me. One guy that I did think was rather intriguing, and be honest with me, Ross, do you like his chances this week? Do you not like his chances this week? Christian Bezuidenhout has been playing really well with his irons, and the guy can absolutely roll the rock. Do you like a Christian Bezuidenhout call or nah, not feeling it?
For his number, yes.
Okay, I can live with that.
Falling in the 55. I'm looking at 55-1 right now. I mean, he's matching guys like. Yes, the field last week wasn't as top tier as we'd expect, but Bezuidenhout's going off at 55-1. Jake Knapp, last week's winner, is going off at 60.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to get there yet. Just curious as to your thoughts. One guy I do want to shout out here, though, real quick, because we talked about his number last week. He played solid in Mexico. He's basically at the same number again, and I could probably find him bigger. I don't know if this is a good course for him, but they're throwing out 110s on Robert McIntyre once again, man. And he's been striping the hell out of the ball. He just can't putt, but that feels like a good number.
That's a good number, and if you're intrigued by that, right back up there in a more intense field, they got Thunder Bear down up there again at a 60-1 too.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I don't know if I'm going to get on Thunder Bear exactly. I've actually never bet on him in my life, and I don't know if it's going to start this week. I feel like I'd want to see a little bit more from him on the PGA Tour, but the way these DP Tour guys are doing so far this year, maybe that's a mistake. Maybe I should try to get on him early. But speaking of that, Ross, the last guy who has caught my intrigue, maybe the furthest down the board, I don't know if you're looking at DraftKings or wherever, but there's an 150 out there on FanDuel for Sami Valimaki. And I just thought that number was crazy. And I'm not comparing these two guys, but back in the fall, before you joined on Tap, Ross, I hit when Lucas Glover won at the Wyndham. He opened up going into the FedEx St. Jude, the first playoff event. After the win, he opened up at 125-1, and I ended up hitting that number for a win. Sami Valimaki opening at 150. Listen, I get it. Last week was Mexico. This is PGA National, a much more difficult course, a much stronger field, even if it is a little bit lackluster. I still feel like 150-1 is a good number on the guy.
Yeah, I found it disrespectful because I mean, he posted a solo second literally 3 days ago.
Yeah,
the game looked good. He imploded down the stretch. Overall, the game looked good, and I think he got a lot of confidence out of what happened last week.
I certainly agree, and maybe we won't see it right here, right now, and you usually don't, but those types of experiences usually wind up benefiting players later on down the road. So I feel like Maybe it won't be this week. I'll probably still end up betting Sami Valimaki, but I feel like there will be a time this year where he'll be a little bit more comfortable in those situations based on what we saw Sunday. That's the way I feel about it, at least.
Absolutely. And I know we're approaching an hour and we probably need to wrap it up for our fans, but I wanted to end this episode with something fun.
Okay.
And that is, on the count of 3, we're both going to shout out who is someone absolutely we do not trust to touch with a 10-foot pole this week.
Okay, hold on. Let me scroll through this field list real quick. Okay.
I have a feeling we both might shout the same person, and if we do, that's going to be the funniest thing ever.
All right,
ready?
Hit the countdown.
1, 2, 3. Cameron Young.
Watch him go and win just to rub it in our face. But no, I just can't back Cam Young at 22-1, man. And I'm not even someone who like bets Cam Young a ton. I have been guilty of it, but at 22-1 odds, if he goes and wins this thing, that's one of those that I can live with, man. But I just don't trust him for 4 rounds. I love his game. He hits the ball a long way. We know he can get hot with the putter. The approaches can be really good as well. We've seen it in major championships. I just don't trust him playing 4 rounds on this golf course right now with all the water and all the penalty. And it feels like even when he's in contention, the putter kind of gets lost on Sunday when it matters most. So I'm out on Cam Young.
Yeah, I think Cam Young is probably one of the people on the tour that is this close to being a superstar at some point, but he just cannot put it all together. I mean, just technically you could say he was a Ryder Cup snub because he was in the top 10.
Yeah.
They ended up putting captain's picks ahead of him because he just wasn't consistent enough. So you could say he's right there on the verge of being one of those guys. The game is not consistent enough. There's not wins that he really needs to go out. And I'm not even saying win one. I need Cam Young to go out and win multiple events for me to truly turn a corner on him and solidify him up there in on the tour.
Yeah. And it's a really big season for Cameron Young after people were super high on him going into last season, and no other way to put it. It was pretty disappointing for him that he wasn't able to capture that first victory. So will he be able to get that done this year, or is the pressure going to get on him? That's going to be something we're going to see throughout the rest of the season. Ross, you got anything else you wanted to bring up, Cognizant related or not, before we kind of wrap things up here, my man?
Not really. I'm interested to have us monitor the internet and see, I don't know, maybe Hideki takes a bag, maybe he sticks around.
I forgot about that. We definitely should have talked a little bit more about that, but yes, Hideki Matsuyama, from multiple sources, and one of them being Greg Norman himself, has said they are going after Hideki Matsuyama right now. And dude, if I were Hideki, I'd do it. Why would he not do it at this point in time? Just won the Genesis, opportunity to capitalize on that. You know it's going to be an absolute bag because he commands all of Japan. He's a superstar over there. Why would Hideki not go? I'd 100% go if I was Hideki. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer for him, especially he's got the major exemptions now. Still because of the Masters win. Why? You know, you can still compete for majors. Why not go get your bag?
I 100% agree. Well, we'll definitely keep our eyes open for any Hideki updates. If something breaks, we'll be sure to break it all down here on Tap Golf. And I think that's going to wrap up today's episode, or Golf on Tap. I apologize. At On Tap Golf is where you can go and find us on social media. And make sure we are now on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So go and show us some support by subscribing to those 100% free wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it may be. You can find us there for all the latest episodes of Golf on Tap. We appreciate everyone tuning in for today's episode. It was a lot of fun as always, Ross. To everyone out there, we greatly appreciate it again, and we'll see you next time on Golf on Tap. Cheers, Ross. Good episode, buddy.
Later, guys.